We're still missing a couple people. Hey everyone, welcome to Princess to Gay. I'm your host Connie, and today we are here with my blind reaction to One Piece, episode 1152. And last time we had Bonnie going Gear 5. Bonnie took on the form of Nika using her distorted future, and it was epic. It was just like this really big moment, and seeing Kumo watching on, even if he's not like fully there, um, like there's something left in him that's like seeing this and is super proud of his daughter. It's just like a wonderful moment. And although she doesn't stay in it too long, she stays in it for basically a couple scenes to turn into that, and then to eventually help Luffy get rid of Saturn, or not Saturn, Mars. And that's pretty much it. That's pretty much all this form appears for her with. It's definitely more there for the narrative reasons than for like just fan service, because I feel like if it was just fan service it would have been there longer, um and it would have been focused on a little more. But it's like Oda definitely knew that we would want that. Oda definitely knew that that would be like this big, emotional, powerful moment, considering all the backstory we've seen, considering all the character depth that we've been given with Bonnie and Kuma. It's like this was going to be a big deal. Not to mention, like, the Giants already seen Nika and everything because, they worship Nika. Already seen that with Luffy and now seeing it with Bonnie as well. It's like, just insanity. In the best way. Um, on top of that, we had um, we had Emmett, and we actually got Emmett's name, because we heard the voice of Joy Boy. Emmett did come back out of the sea, like I'm not gonna say I predicted because it was just obvious. It's like that's not even a prediction when it's that obvious. Emmett did come back out of the sea, helped fight off Warcury, um, even got one of those black and white manga punches, as we like to call them. And it was just like really cool because, like I said, we got to see, hear Joy Boy. And Joy Boy's voice is the original, the very first voice of Luffy from the original OVA back in the 90s, before the main series began, which is just insane. We reacted to that, the Pyroganzak OVA. We actually did a reaction to that on the channel. So, like, Nami wasn't even Nami at that point. Like, she had blue hair and had a different name altogether. And it was interesting. It was very fascinating. Um, it was basically the precursor to what One Piece would end up really being. And so, yeah, we got to hear Joy Boy's voice speaking to Emmett. That's also, again, where we heard the name Emmett. And it's a really good choice. It's just a really fitting choice. Last episode was just One Piece excellence. It was one of those episodes that just like has so much depth and meaning to it, has so much like payoff from previous build up, has like so many hype moments in like a portion of the arc that's already extremely hype and intense and investing. It just really did everything it needed to. And Atlas went off to try to get the rest of the gang who are still not there, and that's really the only thing that's holding us back from escaping at the moment. We we got rid of Mars, who was probably our biggest issue in escaping because of all of the Gorosei. He's the one who'd be most likely to be able to, follow on the water once the ship starts to leave. I don't know if any of the others can swim in these forms, or if they can, or if they have some other kind of abilities we just don't know of. It's possible Nusturo might be able to do something. He's so fast, maybe like Brooke, he could like run on water. But Brooke can run on water because he's also light. It's not just his speed, it's also his lack of weight because he's just bones. Though, to be fair, if Nusturo is in his fully transformed state, he is also basically just bones. Mind you, he's massive, so those bones weigh a little more, but I wonder if the same principle could apply. Because that could be a problem, obviously. I don't think Mercury or Saturn would be much of a problem. Um, the only problem I could see coming into play with Jupiter is the big suck, as I've grown to call it at this point. Um, or even the opposite. We've seen that he can like expel as well. So I'm wondering if like that would end up being a problem with him either trying to suck the ship back towards the shore or launching like stuff at it, like pieces of rubble or whatnot. Um, but we're not quite free yet. There's, I think, including this episode, 4 episodes left in the arc. Um, because the arc kind of finishes out with this year, with this month, December. Now, I'm going to tell you right off the bat here, and I mentioned this in the Discord already, but because the last 2 episodes of the arc come out after I'll have already started my winter break, we're not going to be able to get to those until like the first Monday of next year. So we'll get to this episode, we'll get to the next episode, but the 2 after that, it's like I'm already going to be on my winter break. For those who may be newer to the channel don't know, at the end of every year after the holidays, I take a break between Christmas and New Year's, basically. A little past that, though. Just to kind of refresh myself and get myself ready for the new year. Um, and do any kind of like prep work for the new year that I need to do, stuff like that. And one of the things that's going to entail, or that's going to like have to carry over this year, outside of other shows that just are like, we're in the middle of or something, is One Piece. Because One Piece, like I said, there's going to be 2 episodes that we're not going to be able to get to until then, because I'll be on break already. So I think what the plan is going to be is that on the first Monday back in 2026, I'm just going to do both of them, and then we'll be off of One Piece after that point, because after Egghead ends, One Piece is on break until April, because it's going into that new stupid um, seasonal release schedule, which I still am not a fan of, and I don't think I ever will be. But I mean, there's nothing I can do about it. So yeah, so between I was hoping that we would be done before the end of the year, but it looks like we're going to have to wait to finish it until next year. Again, not really anything I can do about it, but it'll just be that first day back. Basically, we'll get that done, and then everything else will be like a regular schedule from that point forward. But either way, otherwise, we should get on with this episode and see what we have in store. I'm still very excited, obviously, to like see how this arc closes out, see how we're going to escape. I'm wondering if we're going to escape like before the like final episode or two. Like maybe we'll escape next episode and then the final two episodes will be like kind of the closure of the arc. Probably even like touching on a couple other things cuz other arcs have done that. Where it's like, oh, the last episode or two actually tackles some of the other stuff going on in the world. I don't know. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. Maybe it'll be like partially that. And we'll just start like kind of like mixing that up a little. I don't know. But let's get into this episode and at least start to find out. Hold up just a sec. Before you click that link down in the description below to get to today's video, I want to remind you of all the awesome content we have both on this channel and the Princess of Gaming channel. Let's check it out. And we're back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. Oh, fuck. Like... I'm trying to compose myself, and it's not really, like, working all that well. Because it's just... Oh, that, like... Obviously with like the backstory and everything and just so much about like this arc specifically with like Kuma and Bonnie, like it's just made me like break down multiple times, but it's like it's showing what should have been right there, and especially with them saying thank you for being bored. It's like exactly what Kuma's parents said to him. It's like, yeah, that got me. That got me good. And on top of it, like, then you also had to throw in like Kuma like smiling. Like after everything, like you show him like watching on and smiling, showing that there is still something left to him. Showing that he is still like able to some degree perceive what's going on and knows that his beloved daughter is in Nika form fighting alongside Nika. It's just like Jesus, Oda. And then you also have Atlas sacrificing herself to help the Straw Hats and to, like, you know, temporarily distract Nishijuro. And it's just like, Jesus, fuck. It's like... And mind you, I don't know if this was, like, all in one chapter, if this was, like, a couple chapters worth of content, or if it was, like, split between a couple. I don't know how this was done in the manga. But to have this all be in, like, one episode, it's just, like... Especially after last episode, how that went down. You have Emmett as well. Like, speaking to Luffy and us finding out that, like, not everyone can hear him. It is a voice of all things situation. And you have, like, the Clover stuff, Vegapunk and Clover's um, backstory together. Robin crying at hearing about Clover and everything. It's like, Jesus fuck. It's like, everything in this episode is designed to specifically make me cry. Everything in this episode is very specifically targeted at me, and I will not, like, hear otherwise. It is, like, very specifically targeted towards shit that is obviously going to make me emotional. But like seriously, like, it's all stuff that would absolutely get to me. Like the stuff with, like, Robin and Clover and O'Hara. Um, the Atlas, my favorite of the Vegapunks. You have Bonnie and Kuma, who have easily risen in the ranks to be two of my favorite One Piece characters. It's like, what the fuck? Ugh. And I love lore. I love, like, huge lore stuff. So it's like the stuff with Emmett and all, and Vegapunk, and it's so good. I'm a mess right now. It, it's it's just it's just masterful. And I think I might have talked about this before, but just to kind of say so here, since we're, like, really close to the end, um, I don't think the end is going to change this at all, unless it ends up being, like, that fucking amazing and just pushes this even further. But as of, like, current, um, I don't think I would put Egghead on the same level in terms of, like, just general arc rankings as Wano. I've stated before, Wano is my favorite arc. And there's a lot with Wano that I really loved in terms of the lore and story and stuff. But there's also obviously, like, personal stuff with the trans characters. A lot of the backstory stuff with, like, Odin and whatnot really did it for me. And just various things like that. But, like, this arc is, like, definitely up there for me. I don't. I'm not going to, like, try to claim to know where exactly I would rank it amongst all the arcs right now. I'm definitely gonna have to think about that a lot more, and um, I'll probably make a ranking after I finish the arc, which will unfortunately again mean in the new year, because we won't be able to finish out this year just due to my scheduling situation for the rest of the year. So yeah, it's once we finish the arc though, I will, like, probably make a statement of where I would rank it. I might even put that in the afterthoughts of the last video there. Um, but this, like, just really did it for me. This episode just really broke me down again, and it's a good thing I'm not sick right now. Might sound like a weird statement to suddenly make, but um, with the colder weather and all, it's like I'm glad I don't, like, have a cold or anything and have, like, stuffy sinuses, because that would be horrible to cry during. Because whenever I have a cold, whenever my sinuses are stuffed to hell and I start crying, it gets so much worse. And I have legitimate trouble breathing because it's like, oh, my nose is stuffed so badly, I literally can't breathe through it. I have to have my mouth pretty much open at all times. It sucks. It is really bad. And I'm an emotional little shit. I cry very fucking easily. So it's like when I'm sick like that, when I have a cold like that, it is hell. Especially when I'm trying to go to sleep. Because when I'm in a laying down position, my nose stuffs up like more. I don't know if it's just because when I'm like sitting up like this or standing, my sinuses are able to drain better or something. I don't know exactly how it works, but it's much worse when I'm laying down. So when I'm sick like that, it also really hurts my sleep because having trouble breathing like that really hurts my ability to get to sleep and in some cases stay asleep, depending on how bad it is. So, yeah, glad that hasn't happened and glad that this isn't like making that worse. But this episode just like really just continued to blow me away. I'm really glad that Bonnie's punch was a manga punch. Again, I don't know how many other people call it that, but I do because it makes sense. Again, it's a logical name for it because it goes black and white, and people say it like kind of like goes back like to a very sketchy manga like style. Lot less detailing and all. Um, and we've had like multiples of those this arc. I think that's the third one. Because we had when Kuma punched Saturn. It did the manga punch for that. Then we had when Emmett punched Warcury. They did it for that. And now again here. And all three moments, it was like deserved for. It doesn't feel like it's been overused. Like obviously back in the past, like when this was used for like Charlos, it was this big deal because they'd never done that before visually, and it hadn't really been used much again since. It was this rare thing. But now in the same arc and not even like that far apart from each other, all things considered, especially two of them being very close together. You do it three times. I could imagine some people saying like, "Oh, it's not special anymore. It's not that big of a deal anymore." And I get the idea of that because it's like the animation has improved so drastically that they're doing this more because, they can, but it doesn't feel as special anymore because it keeps happening. But I actually would argue it does still feel just as special. Because the thing here is it's still only being used for these massive moments that honestly wouldn't work as well without it. I genuinely feel like these moments need that style to them. Like Kuma coming in, protecting Bonnie and punching Saturn like that, absolutely needed that. It was 100% needed. And Emmett, like this giant robot that, once served alongside Joy Boy, was a friend and ally to literally the most legendary pirate in this series. Yes, I would consider Joy Boy more legendary than Roger or like any other. Even Rocks. Joy Boy is like that much of a legend specifically. And so it's like, yeah, that makes sense as well. This big robot coming out of the sea, protecting our heroes, and delivering this like epic punch to one of the Gorosei is like, yeah, that's it. It feels deserved. And then again, you have this one. Everything in this arc had been building up to Bonnie's Nika punch here. This punch, very specifically, was not just earned, it was necessary. This was like kind of the end of Bonnie's arc in this arc. You know what I mean? the end of Bonnie's character arc within this story arc. It was her finally being able to get revenge on the man who basically killed her mother and also basically killed her father. While the mother's death was like more of just a result of the experimentation and not like a direct murder, it was still his fault. The blood is still on his hands. And Kuma technically isn't 100% dead, but he's like 99.9% unresponsive and stuff. And even if Lilith could bring him back, it's like that's not even 100% guaranteed. It's just, this was like such a needed moment. And I really feel like they absolutely nailed like what they did here with this. And I'm not even mad at like Luffy joining in with the Gatling, with the Dawn Gatling. Because Bonnie's punch was still the forefront attack, and Luffy did not attack until after she got that in. And even then, he was basically just support. He was supporting her punch. Her punch was still the main attack. Because the thing is, like, she's not, like, skilled with this. This was an attack out of desperation and pain. She did this because she needed to. But she's not, like, good at this. She's mastered her own powers very well, but Nika powers, not so much. So, she would not have been able to take out Saturn on her own. Just on her own, she couldn't have done it. She needed Luffy's help, and honestly, she wanted Luffy's help. Because she wants Nika to be there for her and with her. She always has. So yeah. It makes sense. Now, I think I've said this before, but I really want to like nail it on it again. Oda is kind of a master at recontextualization. A master of retconning. Because when he introduced the supernovas back in Shabandi, you absolutely fucking know that this was not in the plans. That, hell, most of what he's done with all of the supernovas wasn't in the plans. In fact, if I remember right, the supernovas weren't planned at all originally. I think it was his editor who kind of convinced him to like create them. That they were additional to that arc. They weren't originally going to be part of it. Which I think is also the same case for the warlords. Because initially, One Piece wasn't going to last as long as it did, obviously, but Oda, just kept getting into it more and more. And so it just kept expanding. And part of that was like, he creates the warlords, he creates the emperors, and it's just like everything just keeps going from there. And so one of those was the supernovas, the worst generation. And when we first see them in Shabandi, we don't think like, we assume that, yeah, a couple of them will probably be pretty big, and the ones we assume are Law and Kid. because we see them fight alongside Luffy. So naturally, we assume they're going to be the big ones of the supernovas, with the other ones probably just being like smaller characters. And technically, yeah, Law and Kid are probably the two biggest members of that group outside of Luffy and Zoro. It makes sense. And so you don't expect much to come from the others, but then you get more from the others. And to differing degrees, of course. Like, obviously, Scratchman Apu is just kind of a narc. He's just kind of a dumbass narc who's just kind of there. Basil Hawkins is a little intimidating at a couple of points, but for the most part, he's just kind of a. I was gonna say like overly loyal, but that makes it sound a lot better than it is. Because he's actually pretty cowardly. He stays loyal because of his cowardice, because he's afraid to not be on the side of who he sees as the strongest. And so, yeah, he's just kind of a cowardly. He's loyal, but he's loyal in a cowardly way. I know what I'm saying. But like, you definitely don't expect Bonnie to become that big. You don't expect Capone Beji to become as big as he did. Like, now I'm just wondering what they're going to do with Arouge. He's the only one of the supernovas we have not focused on yet. And I think, like, he's been, like... Has he been missing since his run-in with the Big Mom Pirates? I think so. I think he hasn't been seen since. So what are we going to do with him? What's his deal going to be? Like, he's the last one that we're going to focus on. What's his deal going to be? When is he going to be introduced? What is he going to end up bringing to the table? How important will he end up being to the narrative? It's like, I have no clue at this point. This is just insane, you know? The kind of shit we're getting, the kind of implications of things. It's like, I didn't necessarily think that Bonnie would be a nobody of a character. But, and I liked her early on, because it's like just her design and the gluttonous attitude and her saving Zoro from the Celestial Dragon. It's like that kind of stuff is like, okay, yeah, that's really cool. I like that. It makes me interested in her character. And then it's like you go to reintroducing her and stuff through like these little moments throughout the arcs at like not Shabandi, while she's at Marishwa, and it's like, oh, they're doing something with her. What's going on here? Or you could even go back to Marineford when you saw her like crying while watching the battle, and specifically with the pacifistas, and it's like, Oda, you fucking madman! Like, and I definitely mentioned that before. I definitely mentioned like seeing that in hindsight, seeing her crying at the pacifistas, and now knowing why. It's like, ah. um. But yeah, you get to see all of this in a different light. And now in this arc, we finally get all this development and growth with her. We get to learn so much more about her and her past, and Kuma and his past. And just, it's so wild how Oda is able to recontextualize everything like that without making it feel unnatural. Because he makes it feel like it was planned from the start, even if it absolutely wasn't. And that's the best part about it. Because it clearly wasn't planned from the start, but he made it seem like it was. And that level of writing skill is insane to me. Like, how do you just do that? Either way, this was another fantastic episode. This was just more real top quality content. Made me cry. So we'll have to see where it goes next. Yeah, next week's episode should be the last one. For the time being, right? Let me check here real quick. I don't want to like lie to you guys. Yeah, because next week is the 15th, and the week after that is the start of the break. Outside of the last holiday special thing, which is obviously going to be on Christmas Eve. But it's like outside of that, like nothing is going to be posted that week. Or really the week after. Because it's going to be like, that's my break time, that's my time off, that's everything. Like, getting 2025 kind of like flushed out of me to make room for 2026, you know what I mean? Getting everything prepared for the new year, for updates and stuff. So it's like, yeah, next week is going to be the final One Piece episode of the year. For me. The actual final, there's still, again, 2 more after that each week. I just won't be able to get to them until the start of 2026. So, yeah. All of that being said, I'm still very excited to see what happens, to see how we get completely out of this. The rest of the crew is on their way. They're going to arrive. And so, like, we're pretty much at that point where it's like, yeah, we can begin the escape. With Emmett helping fighting everything off. With Atlas giving them the time to get out of there, use the coup to burst and all. And Bonnie and Luffy taking out Saturn. It's like at this point, like, they're pretty much good. I mean, I wouldn't say good, but they're on their way out for sure. But tell me in the comments below, what did you think of this episode of One Piece? Let me know down below. And for now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.